Welcome to the Creative Visionaries podcast. My name is Tori Barker, a digital marketing specialist, business owner, mom, and you guessed it, a creative visionary. This podcast is about inspiring business owners, building connections, sharing success stories, and motivating others. Join me on this journey as we tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the Creative Visionaries podcast. Today's guest is Jamie Barlett, and I am so excited to introduce you to her. She's the president and CEO of PolyPay, which was founded in 2013 to provide businesses with a partner who offers them honesty, transparency, customer support, and savings for merchant processing. Jamie, welcome on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Tori. Appreciate the opportunity.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am currently in California, in San Luis Obispo, California, but I am originally from Michigan, born in Michigan. So I put up my mitten to point where I'm from. So I grew up in Birmingham, Michigan, and lived in the Midwest all over, and went to school in Boston at Wellesley College, and then settled out here after college and worked all along the coast in California in consulting and some tech work and some startups, the usual startups from the early 2000s and whatnot. And then decided to open my business, PolyPay, here in San Luis Obispo, as you said, in 2013. So
That's exciting. So
I've
tell us.
been in the middle and the back and the left coast and the right coast, and here I am, like they said, in Three Little Bears. This is just right. So
I love that. So tell us about PolyPay. What does your business do, and how did you get into the payment processing industry?
sure. So PolyPay offers businesses that, of any size, small or large, any kind of business you can think of, to the opportunity to take credit card payments. So you can be, brick and mortar. You can be a mobile solution. Maybe you're on the go. You could have your own e-commerce website. Maybe your business that wants to take Apple Pay or Google Wallet Pay. So we have all of those capabilities for you. So we help businesses who are either new, or existing, figure out what kind of solution they need, what kind of point of sale, what kind of services they want to offer, how they want to take payments.
So obviously there's other platforms out there, right? So like Venmo and PayPal or like business merchant services. So how did you come to the recollection or the idea, this vision that you had to put PolyPay together to kind of bridge the gap or maybe fulfill something that those other vendors weren't doing? Tell me about
Sure.
that.
I think I was in tech and consulting for many years. Never thought I would start a business of my own. I still kind of wake up and go, "Gosh, I did it." I'm a daughter of a banker, so my dad was a member of the trust department for a bank that no longer exists anymore, National Bank of Detroit. And so I grew up watching him be a fiduciary for so many different businesses and individuals, and he always instilled a respect to me of respect of people's money and how they had accumulated the money, and you have to, be on the lookout for them, make sure they're being taken care of well because they worked hard for all of these funds. So when I was thinking about starting a business, I think the big question is always is what problem are you going to solve? What's going to be your solution? That you're going to come up with. And I thought I had learned a lot about the card industry through him. He had done some work with Mastercard for many years. So I thought if there's going to be something I'm going to fix, I bet that's an industry that definitely needs some good actors in it. There's a lot more bad actors in that industry where they're taking advantage of businesses and they're not giving them the support and the education that they need. So I thought, I think I'll go out and let's just do the right thing and be the white knight, like I said, be out there and take care of them and do what they expect of us. So
Yeah.
that's where I wanted to put PolyPay center stage with.
Yeah, I was reading through your website and through your blog, and I pulled out this quote. It's not really a quote, but I am quoting you because it says, "What if you could find a payment processing provider with the experience of Wall Street and the heart of Main Street?" And I
Hmm.
really love that because that really it shows your expertise, your level of experience, but also that customer service relationship and honesty and authenticity that you want to support your clients with. And so
Absolutely.
in the entrepreneur space, a lot of us, myself included, getting started is like, okay, I know I need this, but I'm not sure where to go. And so you look at these different systems or these different offerings out there and you don't know who you can trust. And so
No.
for me, trust is like a cornerstone of my business. And if I can find somebody that I can trust with my business or whatever facet of my business that I need help with, then that relationship's going to just tenfold for me. And that's what I try to bring to my clients. And it sounds like that's kind of the same strategy and thought that you have with your business.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a big point there, is that when you're starting a business, there's so many things that need your attention. You have so many children per se that you're looking after and trying to grow and work on. And if we can, with so many things that small businesses have to take care of, from labor to even, restaurants getting food and
Yeah.
things like that, and insurance and other things they have to worry about. If we can take this one thing off of their shoulders and they can, that's going to give them some time and some worry, take that away from them. That's what we love to do, because as you know well enough, there's enough that you have to worry about day to day, that even a small chunk of something like this, if that's something they can rest easy about, then I feel like we've done our job, and they can put effort towards something else, one of the other probably 8 million other things they need to put attention towards.
Yeah, and in our kind of pre-conversation, you're like, the payment industry, payment processing industry is not real sexy, but it's necessary. And I mean, it's not sexy, but it could be sexy, right? We could get you there.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can judge it up a little bit, like I said, but it's yeah, as I said, it's not a sexy opening line. So what's your rate right now? Or hey, do you like Amex and Discover? Me too. So it's you got to work on your kind of your opening lines there. But once the lines of communication start up with a customer, it usually kind of just comes out. Either they've
Mhm.
been so badly burned before by their previous provider, or they realize, I wrote an article on that's on our page that kind of talks about the many faces, kind of a takeoff of one of my other film husbands, Clint Eastwood. That's just kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So
Yeah.
in having conversations with customers, I'm sure you've seen that too, where you've got customers who think they know everything,
Mm.
and maybe they do. And then you've got those that are just sort of head in the sand, don't want to even think about it. And then there are people that are completely then relieved and happy when you kind of come and address things for them, and they feel safe enough and comfortable enough to ask questions about something that's so critical to their business.
Yeah.
So my phrase with that line is that there's a lot of different faces. The conversation can go a lot of different ways, but our point is, at the end goal is that we just want to get them to where they need to be and where they need to be treated. I think people lose sight of a lot of businesses that are on Main Street. And I kind of used that line for the article because San Luis Obispo, where we are, is actually was considered one of the top 10 main streets in the United States. And I think that a lot of people, having grown up in the Midwest, kind of forget about how many small businesses are out there. Like it's
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling. And then these larger operators, they're a drop in the bucket to those people. So they really don't give them the time and attention that they deserve.
True. And I think post-pandemic, well, I guess we're kind of post-pandemic. I mean, the types of businesses and the entrepreneurs are just increasing. There's so many more people that are starting their own businesses or going out on their own. And so something like the service that you offer is going to be so much more relevant and so important for those people who obviously what you do, what you provide is essential for our business as entrepreneurs, because if we don't get paid, then we can't do
Yes.
the business. And so, having that streamline and the partnership with somebody that will, kind of take care of you and show you the right ways to do it is going to be essential moving forward for sure with the
Yes,
new
yes,
direction.
absolutely. I think it's another just another tribute to U.S. that this is an amazing country of opportunity, and people kind of looked that pandemic in the face and said, ah, I can figure it out. And
Yeah.
definitely the case. We've seen an explosion of lots of different types of businesses that were people who finally had, obviously for a bad reason, had more time to themselves to think about coming up with a company or a service that they want to provide. And it's fascinating now, the different types of businesses that are out there that you would never thought even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, that would have existed.
Yeah. What is one thing that people come to you, their biggest challenge that they have when they're looking at your services?
I think they all get burned into their mind is like, well, what's my rate? And they, there's everyone always asks that, like, that's what's your rate? I go, well, boy, that depends on a lot of different things. It's, what's the average size ticket you're charging a customer? How much, our phrase is pass through. How much are you doing in credit card business a month?
Yeah.
How are you taking payments? I mean, our business is interesting. It's going to cost more if the person isn't in person handing you the card because there's more risk that's inherent to that transaction. So
True.
there's a lot of assumptions they kind of get with, but probably that's their opening salvo is, well, what's your rate? And then, let's say for average, it's maybe 2.5% or something for a customer. And they said, oh, well, I'm already getting that. And then we asked them, are you sure? Or do you know? Have you
Yeah.
looked at a statement? And a lot of times they haven't seen a statement in months or years. But they believe that just because their provider told them that, and they don't even know how to calculate it. Some of them, they don't even know how to read a statement, and that's not right.
Yeah, and it sounds like, part of your strength is the education part of things too. So tell us
Yes.
about how you educate your clients or potential clients.
Sure. So there's a lot of different pieces to this, and I think the first thing they want to know is they want to understand their statement. I think that's a cornerstone to their business, and often other peers in our industry aren't even sending them statements.
Yeah.
So we make sure that they have 24-hour access, to their online statements to see their transactions. So we walk them through if they want to know every line item through the statement. They understand exactly what they're being charged. We teach them what all the different line items mean. We teach them how to best use their point of sale. That we get them trained on that. If we're in person, obviously we even go there on site, make sure it's installed well, so they know how to use it, and therefore they can teach their other team members how to use the solution. And I think a big thing that's sort of unfortunately come up a lot in the aftermath of the pandemic is there's been a lot of fraud. Fraud is on the rise. I think there's people that should be using that creativity towards a traditional job are trying to figure out ways to take advantage of people, so there's a lot of
Right.
fraudulent card activity. There's a lot of stolen numbers and things like that, and taking advantage of online businesses and things like that. So we try and make sure that they're as educated as they possibly can be, to notice something that's
Yeah.
suspicious and to teach the rest of their team members how to identify that and hopefully avoid any losses.
Yeah, what to look out for. What are those red flags that you need to see or
Yes.
find?
Yes, exactly.
Wow, and I was thinking while you were talking about the types of payments that you take, and I'm curious, do you see more, and I guess maybe it depends on the business, but more in-person payments being taken, or is it more of the online payments with the person not physically there? Do
I,
you
I would
see a
I would
shift or
I would say it's pretty still evenly split, but there's definitely a hybrid answer to that. Is I think there's definitely a rise on the Apple Pay and the contactless payments. So that became very almost necessary during the pandemic because businesses were altering operations to stay in business. Like restaurants are doing kind of curbside pickup, so people would literally be, either online like you mentioned, or they're
yeah,
kind of just driving by and boop, tapping their phone or their card
yeah.
quickly so that nobody had to touch anything, but everyone could still keep open and provide service and food and things like that. So that's definitely been on the rise, I think, for sure. And that was more in the younger generation, and it's definitely getting up there with people who are slightly older using that service and technology too.
So, one of the things that I'm wondering from your industry, it sounds like we're going to talk rates here. So, when you look at the rates, always what I see is the in person when you pay with, your card in a device or you're in a store, that rate is always lower than these online payments or, invoices that you send out. Why is that?
Yes,
And
yes, yes. That is a case because it's kind of called like a card not present is the
mm,
phrase for that. So that's somebody who's either online shopping or something like that, or calling an order in even, and someone's just taking the credit card information over the phone and kind of
Yeah.
inputting it to their system. There is a more inherent risk with that because
Mm.
you don't really know if that's the actual person in that's not their card, or even if it's somebody's kid took their parents' card and they bought something like that. So there's more risk associated with that. So in result, the card associations like MasterCard and Visa are going to have a higher rate for that
Mm.
to kind of protect themselves against potential chargebacks or things like that. So there are ways, as I mentioned before, that you can lower the cost and the risk associated with that. So yeah, I'm sure you've been online, Tori, and there's been, they'll ask you like, all right, well, what's the last three digits, on the back of the card, or what's
Yeah.
your zip code for your billing address? So those are all, a business is doing their job. Then if they're asking you, as annoying as it is to fill it in,
Yeah.
they're doing their job in mitigating risk and cost by providing that card information to their partner system or whoever that may be. And so in exchange for more information like that, the risk and therefore the cost goes down.
Mm. Do you think with the shift to businesses being more online, do you think that that rate or that percentage will ever change? Do you think that it'll ever maybe level out, that the online payment's not much more expensive than an in-person payment? Do you think with the
I,
trend of how things are going that it's a possibility?
I think it's a possibility, but I just still think that risk is never going to go
Mm.
away. And frankly, MasterCard, Visa, I mean, these are companies where stock prices are in the hundreds of dollars. So they're doing well. And I don't think they'd like to see any cut in their success in that way. So I hopefully think that will become more, uh, typical in the way people operate. So I'd love to see that go down a bit for people, because I think that the different ways where you see so much now, how much people are even, remember, it used to be shopping from your computer. Now it's shopping from your cell phone. I mean, I have
Right.
bought lots of crap on Amazon at midnight, in bed. I'm like, that sounds great. And then you wake up like, why did I order that? Okay.
Yeah,
So I
buyer's
don't think that,
remorse.
it's like it sounded like such a good idea at the time, but I think, yeah, I don't think that's going away. So hopefully that would be great in some sort of way to at least meet us halfway in some way between banks and processors and customers. That would be great. I don't foresee it soon, but
Yeah.
maybe there's a little give and take there. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because you think about everything's kind of shifting and everybody's kind of like in this like, do we grow? Do we change? Do we hold on? And so it's just kind of thinking, long term, what does that look like? And from your perspective in your industry, is that a possibility? Is that something that may change over time based on, everybody being online, everybody paying online, where there's not that in-person payment anymore, 10% of the time you're in person, so how does that shift? There's got to be that question in your industry that people are have to be looking at or talking about at least.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. I was in Columbus. I was at a fireplace store a few weeks ago looking for something, and the gentleman just had next to no inventory. And it was a business that I was trying to help, by shopping locally, right?
Yeah.
Tori, and he just had like very little inventory. And I said he had like two of one thing, and I said, "Do you have any more, sir?" And he just said, "The problem is I just don't order very much inventory because
Mm,
everybody's buying this on Amazon." So I mean, there's a plus and negative to all of that
right.
as well. But yeah, I hope that we can still continue with this technology as long as businesses are kind of, and they're getting more up to date with like the Apple Pay and things. As long as they kind of have at least the latest technology, I
Yeah.
think then you're going to be serving a larger population, even if you're a traditional brick and mortar business.
Yeah. You've got to help the mom and pops out there.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would consider all of us as entrepreneurs, we're technically mom and pop. So,
Yeah.
if you're not listed on, the NICE or anything, I think you're still a mom, you're a mom and pop. So yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's shift a little bit into, let's talk about female entrepreneur because, obviously I can relate to that topic. So, you know, what are what has your experience been as a female entrepreneur and business owner and starting your own business over the
I
last
think,
years?
yeah, yeah, oh gosh, almost 10 years. That's kind of scary. Where did that go? Insert the gray hair, increase the years.
Right?
Exactly.
Increase the hair
Uh,
appointments.
yes, exactly. Thank God for technology. But I think, initially I think more people might be a little more reserved in trying to do something. I think, as I mentioned previously with our conversation, I was fortunate enough to kind of go to an all women's school, so that kind of gave you a real edge when it came to competitiveness and looking at that at any kind of opportunity versus male or female. And I don't like bringing that conversation up too much. I mean, I think there's a lot of great women's networking events. So one answer to that is I definitely took advantage of that. I think actually for my industry, Tori, it was interesting because you don't see a lot of people in this industry in sort of a C level, I guess one would say, or
Yeah.
owner capacity. There's people in sales and support for sure, but there's still very few, as we would be considered an ISO, an independent sales office.
Yeah.
There's very few of those in this niche industry that are actually run or founded by women.
Hmm.
So it was a unique process. And also with the way my name is spelled too, Tori, which is kind of silly, I get a lot of Jim, Mr. Barlett. I'm like, no, he's dead, but yeah, I'm here.
That's my
So,
father.
so that's my father. Yeah. So that was kind of an interesting twist of things. So on paper, they kind of think you're someone else. And then when they either see you or pick up the phone, they go, oh. So I'm just like, I wonder if the conversation took a turn that way or not.
Yeah.
So, um, but no, I just immediately, as soon as I started working on PolyPay, I just started looking for networking events, and just kind of it just sort of naturally gravitated that way, and I started making connections, and I think I've found some really great networking entities like kind of NABO, and there's a few
Mm.
other national women's networking events. And I think you just have to get out there, right? I think there's a lot of women business owners that lament that they're not where they want to be, but they're
Yeah.
not putting themselves out there, I think,
Yeah.
as well. So I think you're kind of resting on laurels of like, well, I'm just this female here that's being ignored. No, you're a human and you need to get out there and
Yep.
interact. I was an
Female or
introvert
male,
before
doesn't
all of
matter.
this. Yeah. Yeah. I was an introvert before all of this. And I thought, wait a minute, I just created a company that's going to be based on sales. Oh, crap. Okay. So got to get out
Maybe
there,
I should
James,
have thought this
So
through.
yeah, exactly. Got to get out there, James. So that was a definitely eye opener for me too. And you just have to put yourself out there and you have to be out of your comfort zone for sure.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of my background is in home building industry. And so that's another conversation of there's not many public home builders that have female owners or presidents. And so
Interesting.
it's interesting to see because we have within the building industry, we have a women in housing leadership group.
Oh, neat.
And
Okay.
so it's all these female women in this industry who are starting to like empower themselves and like, yes, let's talk about what we can do and yes, we're a part of this industry. And so it's always, I'm not like, I'm female, hear me roar kind of thing, but it's important. There's times to recognize that and there's times to,
I
say, yeah, I can do this too. It's not just a man's world and,
No,
here we are. We're all equal.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We're just another facet that makes things interesting. So
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. You have to get out there. And I think I had an interesting reaction. I was joining a chamber about a year ago and I was filling out the paperwork for it. And, typically with women, you kind of get marked, women owned business, something like that.
Yeah.
Minority. And I thought, and so many other things I had filled out before over the past years, you kind of got to check yourself as the minority box.
Yeah.
And this chamber said, "Oh, we don't consider women a minority anymore." I go, "Oh, like your head kind of blew up for a minute there, like you were like." Part of me was like, "Oh, like why
Yeah.
can't I get my little badge? Damn it, my little badge
But
of
then you're
honor."
like, yeah, that's good, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, James, let's claw this back here. Like, yeah, no, that's a great thing. So it was kind of funny. I had this torn moment with my pen hovering over the
Yeah.
page. Oh, okay, it's just a person,
Yeah.
fine, okay,
They have that
whatever.
on Google business pages. Like you can
Oh,
put
really?
like different like, checkbox women owned business or, whatever it might be. And so it's like one of those checkboxes that you're always coming across.
Right, yeah, and yeah, I just kind of felt like, oh. Okay, I'll go sit over here. All right, so it was, but yeah, it was a great moment. But it was, yeah, it's
Right.
definitely a little bit of kind of a head blowing moment for a moment there
Right.
where I thought, oh, okay, all right, just people. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Just Jamie, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Fine. All right. Yep, exactly. Exactly.
So let's talk about, so what are some of the questions that you think entrepreneurs should be asking themselves or always thinking about in this space as an owner or as a business? What's that question or questions that you should always be asking yourself?
I think, and I know I mentioned it earlier, was I think you have to figure out what's the problem you're going to solve. So many people kind of start romanticizing an idea, or they've seen someone in an industry or a business that they want to emulate. You need to be, in order to be productive and a good member of society as well, you need to be solving a problem. Like, what are you gonna fix? What are you gonna do that's going to make somebody's day better?
Yeah.
I think that you need to come up with something like that. And I think so many people think so far ahead about, like, oh, this is what my website, they start thinking, well, this is what the website, I know I'm dabbling into your world here, Tori, but hang
Now
on,
watch
I
it
have
now.
a point.
No.
Hang on, I know. Ooh. Uh, but I think they need to get to that, right? But I
Yeah.
think they don't take the time fundamentally in the very beginning. And I took quite a long time, probably almost a couple years while I was still working, really thinking about what problem I was going to solve. And I
Mhm.
think that when everyone says, kind of like with parents, everyone's child is the most beautiful child and the most talented child. Well, let's not forget, and this statement's going to sound strange, but it's like someone needs to pay money for your child, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how are you going to get somebody to trade money for your child, right? And I think people get a little bit insulted with that. And
Yeah.
I experienced that in the first, definitely, probably year of my business. It's like, well, why won't someone pick me, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm right here. Like, it's like, no, but what are you doing to stand out? What are you doing to make something better? It's got to be good enough that someone is going to literally part with their hard-earned cash in order to connect with you. And the fun part of our business, Tori, is that we should be saving people money even. So
Yeah.
someone should be coming to us and saying, shouldn't have to spend a dime. And on top of that, you're going to save me money every day. So
Yeah.
we love to say we're like kind of like a double delivery in that sense. Is we're kind of a twofer there
Yeah.
in that sense. So yeah, so I think people need to kind of get off that romanticized version and make sure that they're down to earth and realistic about what their plan is going to be. And you need to stick with it. You need to stick with it. I think people's timelines are very, warped if you're not aware of,
True.
they think they're going to be, can't wait to file that massive tax, return in
Yep.
18 months. Probably longer, I think. So,
I think one of the other important questions is what differentiates you from the others. Because
yes,
what problem can you solve, right? That's what your question is. What problem can you solve? But on the next level, what differentiates yourself from these other people? The noise in the space that you're in. How do you set
absolutely.
yourself apart?
Absolutely, and this is a very crowded space. I mean, there's the big behemoths that are out there, like First Data, or Bank of America, who's partnered with First Data. I mean, there's a lot of smaller offices out there all over the place. So I mean, there's this is a very crowded space. So I think you have to be very particular. Obviously, at the end of the day, numbers are at the end, our numbers are what are going to get you a win. And this is a very interesting industry, Tori, where it's literally half of a penny can make you get a deal or not when it comes to transactions and things like that. But I
Right.
think truly what puts us across the finish line with customers is the super high touch. A lot of customer support. They know to call us directly, not kind of call any of our partners or anything. They know, we'll answer them, we'll educate, or if we don't have an answer, that's another thing. We're never going to say we know something. If we don't know, we'll get back to you. I think you should never be, the end of the day, numbers are at the end, our numbers are what are going to get you a win. And this is a very interesting industry, Tori, where it's literally half of a penny can make you get a deal or not when it comes to transactions and things like that. But I
Right.
think truly what puts us across the finish line with customers is the super high touch. A lot of customer support. They know to call us directly, not kind of call any of our partners or anything. They know, we'll answer them, we'll educate, or if we don't have an answer, that's another thing. We're never going to say we know something. If we don't know, we'll get back to you. I think you should never be, telling your customers a fib. If you don't know, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you. And then it's up to us to go and chase something down for a customer. And I think that's what they appreciate the most is, and our understanding that business isn't 9 to 5. So if they call us on the weekends, they call us after hours because, everybody's industry and business is different. So that need is never going to go away. So I think they like that continuity with us very much too.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I think that's a huge differentiator for you, and the high touch and customer relationship and the service that you provide them. I mean, you
Yes.
just can't pay enough for that, right?
No. And I love one point I love to bring up is that the team that works with us here. I love it when Christmas rolled around. We had customers sending our team Christmas cards, like thank you and Christmas cards, and I was like, oh. It was not one for Jamie, but it was. I'm being facetious, but I thought that's when you're doing something right?
Right.
Like a customer who clearly doesn't have time to be doing things like that literally sent our team members
Yeah.
holiday cards, and I was like,
I
I
love
still
that.
have those cards to this day. I go, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to be a little mad, but I'm going to get over it, and then I'm going to put it in my folder, and I have kept it to this day because
The
I think
love-hate
that's
relationship.
yeah. Exactly. We're too good at this. Why is
Yeah.
that? So that's a great example though that I love that
Yeah.
somebody went above and beyond to do something like that. That just shows
Yeah.
that I feel like we're where we need to be.
So that, it's funny that kind of dovetails into my next question, which was how do you measure success? So I'm curious, how do you measure Jamie, how do you measure success for yourself? And then how do you measure success for PolyPay?
Sure. I think that success for me on a personal level, I think is knowing that you are doing the right thing for somebody that you're taking. So it's a mixing. I'm mixing the answer there. Apologies, Tori. But for me personally, I like when I go home at night and you can sleep well and that you're doing the right thing, that you are being a positive force out there in the world for businesses and whatnot. I think that's what makes something successful for me as a person. That our reputation is intact, that people know that we can be trusted, and that I have formed and put together, I feel, a team that is very powerful and helpful. I think that's just good energy. You're putting good energy out there in the world, and you're leaving a good mark out there. And that when people see me, or they're open and warm, and oh, hey Jamie, great to see you, and they know that what I'm associated with, both as an individual or PolyPay, that there is that positivity around that. I feel like that's success for me, for sure.
Yeah. And then for PolyPay, how do you guys measure your success? Is that by the number of clients you have, or how do you guys?
I think, I mean, always we love adding more customers for sure, but I think studying and we're again very numbers based as a business and numbers driven, but seeing how much we save, and we track it, how much we save our customers, even on a daily or a monthly basis or yearly basis. I mean, it's been in the tens of thousands of dollars for individual customers alone, and to seeing that we can provide that value with our service, and that they can then in turn go use that money that they were burning with a previous provider, that they can go out there. Some of them have been able to hire more team members. Some of them have been able to buy things for their business. I mean, that's just a really cool benefit of being in this industry. So that it's how powerful that taking that money that they didn't even know they could have back, and seeing them being able to use that in different ways and then build their own success from that. That's really cool. I think that's what makes me, and hopefully I think our team, happiest too.
Yeah, being a part of other people's success and just a
Absolutely.
person to help them along that journey for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. And we're proud to say we still have our first customer from almost 10 years ago. So yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah, so that's almost like what would you say, Tori? That's almost like a Hollywood marriage, right? I mean, that's 10 years out in LA. What is that? 50? I'm not sure. So that's
And
a
then
long time.
if they started with you and then left and came back, that's still a Hollywood marriage, right?
I would say so, kind of like an Elizabeth Taylor move there, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or a Larry King move. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yes, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So, are there any final words of wisdom that you can share with our audience or any guidance that you would give them for entrepreneurs who are in this space that, could potentially use your services? What's that wisdom that you can bestow upon them?
I think, as a entrepreneur to other entrepreneurs, I think you have to really, again, think hard about what you're going to offer, what is that solution you're going to provide, and I think you have to be um, understanding that this is sort of you're giving birth, and so this isn't going away when this entity starts. I mean, I remember when I hired my first employee, and I thought, oh my, it was like instantly having children. I go, wait a minute, whoa, like you have to be responsible for somebody's well-being here. I thought, I kill plants. This isn't a good move. But I think you have to. I think you have to think about the long run, and not everything is. Everyone looks at, especially in an Instagram world where everything is shiny and perfect. There's a lot of ugly days, and there's a lot of days where you're tired, and there's a lot of days where things just aren't working. And I think you have to be aware there's going to be more of those in the front than towards the end, and that it's a complete journey. It's a long runway, and if you do your work and your put your heart towards it, hopefully there's going to be a lot more runway ahead
Yeah.
than behind.
I love that. I think that's so true. You gotta, be in it for the long haul and, look at that long
Yes,
distance.
and go to anything you can think of. I mean, my joke is, right, like you go to an opening of an envelope, right? I mean, it's you never know who you're going to meet, and I have met some great people. Just you're tired, and it's the end of the day, and you're like, God, I don't want to go to this mixer. I don't want to go to
Yeah.
this. Just go, even if it's 10-15 minutes. You'll start to figure out when it's not going to be worth your while for certain things. But in the beginning, my gosh, I tried to go to absolutely everything I could,
Yeah.
because that's the beauty of this world and people, is you never know who's going to be there or who that person who you met knows. So,
Right. Yeah, and that's what I love about podcasting is that's, gives us the opportunity to meet new people and I appreciate your time today and just the knowledge and the insight that you shared with me and with my listeners and I just want to thank you for being a guest on the show.
well, thank you, Tori. Thanks for the opportunity and the platform and the conversation. And hopefully my goal is I've added a little bit of value, or at least somebody got a good laugh, I hope. So that's what I
Always
aim
a
for,
good
one or
laugh.
the other. Yeah, always one or the other, or maybe both. So that's the goal. So thank you.
Yeah, and where can people go to connect with you, learn more about PolyPay? Where would you like to send
Sure.
them?
Sure. So we have a website. It's polypay.com. So that's POLYPAY.com. We're on Instagram at polypay processing. We try and do our best and posting, tips and fun things. And you'll see a lot of pop-ins from Spike, who is my pup and kind of the mascot. So he shows up a lot, and we like to share industry information there, and we're always trying to obviously be on podcasts, things like that, or publishing articles. So hopefully they can take a visit there and let us know their thoughts and reach out if they need us.
Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend you follow them on Instagram, check out their website. I think, if anyone has any payment questions or processing information that they need, PolyPay can definitely be a service to help them. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to meet you and connect with you and looking forward to our long-term journey together.
Right. Thank you very much again, Tori. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for listening to the Creative Visionaries podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, or share with a friend. Also, make sure to visit us online at creativevisionariespodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And stay tuned for more episodes to come. And remember, it's time to tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary.